I actually have been sort of in the middle. I'm very strong supporter of Congressman Hecht. I hope soon to be Senator Hecht.
Most all of this online, people are going to be able to watch all of this. I promise you that. Let's talk about, you talk about the Republican Senate, and you alluded to Joe Hecht. It's very, very important to you. Why?
This is a perfect example. If someone gets elected to the Senate, they usually stay there for a long time. Incumbents have an enormous advantage. So now we're looking at a seat that's been occupied by Harry for a long time. And it's time for a new senator. Joe Hecht, there's nothing wrong with Catherine Cortez, she's a nice lady. I knew her dad. Manny was a friend. But we're not talking about who's nice people. We're talking about who's the best candidate to be a senator. Joe Hecht is an extraordinarily fine guy and qualified beyond a shadow of a doubt. Served in the service, he's a doctor, highly educated, knows about health services. He was an entrepreneur and a businessman, and he served our country and then volunteered and went back to Iraq. He's an Eagle Scout kind of guy, a moderate Republican, very, very honest, straight-laced. You know, I'm hoping that he wins. So naturally, I'm trying to help him. Joe, Congressman, you got to be here for this meeting and that meeting. He said, Steve, I've got to be in Congress because it's in session. I made a deal with my constituents. Sure, I want to win the Senate race. And I know I'm not going to be a congressman after January. But as long as I represent my people, I got to be there to vote. And I wish I could go to this fundraiser in Dallas, or I could be here for this or that meeting, but I'll be back the minute we're out of session. But while we're in session, I'm going to Washington. And I respect Joe for that kind of thinking. He's a high-principled man with a very balanced view of what the problems are in America, and at least with the energy and the understanding to do a better job.
I guess what I'm wondering, though, is that Hecht obviously has a great resume that you just went through in terms of his service to our country, and you believe he's a moderate Republican. We can argue about that. He's certainly not nearly as far right-wing as the Democrats would paint him. There's no question about that. But is it just really, I mean, be honest here, I mean, is it really just more about him being a Republican, or do you honestly think that he's a better candidate for some reason than Catherine Cortez Masto?
The answer to your question is I absolutely know he's a better candidate, but more importantly, John, you know that I've supported more Democrats than Republicans.
You have.
I'm a registered Democrat.
I know that, yes.
But I consider myself an independent. I don't give a damn about party labels. I'm looking at the people. And incidentally, when there's a good one, grateful as hell that they're in public service.
But you want a Republican?
Because I'm too lazy to do it. I'm too selfish.
That's very scary.
I'm too selfish. I want
you in public office is too scary for me to consider.
I want my own life.
I know, exactly. But seriously, you said you want a Republican Senate, so it does to some extent have something to do with with him being a Republican.
Because I think Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan together will address the problem. I don't think, I know they will. If they have a Republican in the White House, they will send legislation over there to come up with an alternative to the Affordable Care Act that will incentivize and reduce health care costs. You know, I said to Harry Reid, Harry, we're buddies. You know, he stays in the hotel sometimes with Londra when he's out of session. He stays in the hotel. And I don't bother him, you know, he's a guest and my friend. Harry, what happened to long distance charges when Vonage goes against Verizon and AT&T? Long distance charges go down. What happens when Geico goes against Allstate and Progressive to car insurance and motorcycle insurance goes down? Why in 2,700 pages of that damn bill did you not address interstate advertising or the healthcare savings accounts? I mean, the fundamental mistakes are so outrageously simple.
Tell me about your support for Joe Hecht. How big are you going? I know you've given some money to the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Is that where your focus really is?
I gave money personally. I've had a fundraiser for him in New York, had a fundraiser for him in California. I sponsored, you know, I did it at my home, but they paid for it. I've tried my best to convince other people on what an outstanding candidate he is and how good he would be for Nevada.